whether it's LinkedIn, whether it's YouTube, whether it's Facebook. We want to see all of you. That's what we want to see. Yeah. Oh, actually, that's a good idea. Let's watch it from there. Yeah. Mark over real life. Yeah, I guess we're live now sometimes. Oh, yeah, we're live on Facebook. I could see that. And we're live on YouTube as well, which must mean we're live on LinkedIn surely as well. So this is the Business of Property Entrepreneur podcast. Thank you for joining us, listening from wherever you are. We have a very special guest on. He's been on many podcasts. I don't know if it's this one, but you've been on other ones before. It's Mr. John Paul Palumbo. Thank you for being here.
Thank you very much for having me, Mike.
Yeah, good to have you on it. Now, look, we're going to cram this with as much value for the people listening as we possibly can. Yeah, so for that to happen and this message to reach far and wide, I first of all want you to put hashtag live if you're watching it or listening to it live, or hashtag replay. Yeah, because if you put replay and you start commenting or asking questions, we know that we wouldn't have answered them live. So then we'll go back in there and answer the questions. But you might have some questions about property, about architecture, about service accommodation, or whatever it might be. So first of all, go and put that hashtag live or hashtag replay. And then I want you to hit the share button. Hit the share button. Let us know you shared it so we can give you a shout out. And then tag at least 10 people. Yes, Sarah, good to see you here. Yeah, tag at least 10 people. Why? Because you've got to give them at least the opportunity to come in here. JP's automatic AI camera following them around the room is saying. Did you know?
No, I had to stand up. I can't sit down and do this.
Good. Yeah, I'm standing up as well. Yeah, just so everybody knows. And JP the same height, see? So
same height. Yeah.
Maybe it made a difference. Yeah. So let's get into it, JP, because we've got lots to talk about here. So you kind of could say your property journey, although it wasn't really your journey, started at 18. So just tell us, what were you doing at 18 that was to do with property?
Yeah. Good evening, everybody. And what was I doing at 18? I had this passion for architecture, for design, for, at that point, I didn't really know what it was. I just started my studies. So reading architecture books, looking at posh kitchens and going, Mum, can I rip the kitchen out, knock this wall down and, shape the house and whatnot? And she went, yeah, of course you can, which kind of shocked me. We had this old kitchen and we did it. So it was kind of just, okay, let's knock this wall down. Is this hell, holding anything up? It was kind of figuring it out, going, I don't know. There's no YouTube. But just getting your hands dirty and getting cracking kind of felt like a good thing, and it gave me the bug. So that's what I did at 18, is we just started knocking the house about.
Yeah, I love it. And what's really interesting about becoming like a business or a property entrepreneur, or some people call it a property investor. Sometimes people, they can't let go of what they've already spent a lot of time. Some people go to university, they've had long careers in corporate companies or organizations, maybe even at their own business, but they want to do it, but they don't let go. So tell us about how you trained in architecture, and not only that, you also had a successful music career before as well.
Yeah, looking back now, do you know what? Architecture was always the thing. Like I said, I loved everything, design and property. And I remember saying in my sixth form, what are you into? What do you want to go to university for? And I told her those two things, and she said, architect. You need to be an architect. That was it. I was applying, and I was in, and loved it. I actually came out of the class. It was kind of me and another fella, 70 students that were top of the tree, and we got nominated. I got chosen to be nominated for Royal Institute of British Architects Award. And I remember doing the pin-up, doing the awards, all of that stuff. And my lecturer at the time, I was really sort of good relationship with. He says, "Oh, can't wait till you go into. There's lots of levels in architecture." And I says, "No, I'm done. That's me finished." And he was like, "What do you mean?" And I was like, "Look, I've been a singer since I was about 14, and I kind of want to get back into it. And I don't want to be too old. You can be too old in that job, whereas in architecture, you can't really be too old." This was my logic anyway. So look, my mum and dad struck a deal with me. They said, "Look, if you get a first class degree, we will pay for your course in London to go to professional music school." And I couldn't play an instrument to save my life. I could kind of tinker around on a couple of things, but I was a singer, and that was it really. So yeah, I got that, and went to London and had the best six years of my life. because I was just purely pursuing my musical adventures, learning to songwrite with some amazing people, learning to sing with some incredible coaches. And all the while, I stuck with my architecture, doing one day and then sometimes 2-3 days a week. So just intertwined both of them. And before I know it, I'm performing in the morning, I'm recording at night, and somewhere in between, I'd be designing a grade 1 listed refurb. I remember doing a project directly opposite St. Paul's. It was by the architect Sir Christopher Wren, and we were turning it into these million plus pound apartments. And it was just a bit of a surreal time for me to be alive. It was before the financial crash, so everyone had money, everything was flowing. By the sounds of it, everyone had a mortgage as well. And it was just a good time to rock and roll. And that's what I was doing. So, yeah.
So I know it was your music career, traveling around a lot, staying in all the different cities all over, had an impact of obviously what then you started to do in service accommodation, which we'll come back to. Let's come back to that. Because first of all, I want to ask you the question, what was it that clicked in your mind at 33 years old to say, bang, you know, I want to do this, I'm going to make it happen, and I'm going to do it full time?
Yeah, a very long process of, after music, I fell into this events world. There's maybe some people listening, watching that know about events management and promotional work. And they like musicians, they like performers, they like dancers, because you're confident and you're dealing with the public. And I fell into this world that paid really well. And I was like, I'll just do it once, earn some money. I'll just do it a third time. Before I knew it, I was in there 5 years doing these like events. They're really cool events, but not my career. I was like, what the hell am I doing? Like, how did I end up here? And it was during that 5 years that I'd be dealing with, I don't know, general public going, what am I doing? What am I doing? And every couple of months or whatever, someone would come up to me going, JP, I want to buy a house. How do I do it? What do I do? You know, and I was there like preaching like some expert, going, you need to do this, you need to get a broker, you need to do your numbers and blah, blah, blah. And I remember thinking, oh, who do I think I am? Like I think I had 1 buy to let at this point, or 2 buy to lets. I was like, who do I think I am? Like, study preaching to other people how to do it, and I just felt like a fake. I honestly felt like a fake, and that lasted about 2 years. And that frustration started to build and build and build, and I was furious at myself by the end of it.
But how did you get the first 2 buy-to-lets? Was that you just saving up the money, getting the deposit down, or like?
Yeah, and that's kudos to my mum and my sort of relationship with my family as well, because my mum's always been a, yeah, let's go, let's do it kind of person. So like the kitchen when I was 18 became, you know, a couple of buy-to-lets with her, and then I got my own, and then it was like, okay, I remember doing refurbs with my mum as well, and we would just go in and go, what can we do? We could turn it into this, we could turn it into that. And I'd be hands-on, you know, like mortaring brick walls because I wanted the chic architecture look. But yeah, it was just scrambling money together. And don't forget, I'm from Bradford, so even now, property up north is like, it's peanuts, right? You know, like back then, I say back then, it's kind of still the same now, but 60-70 grand, you could get a 1 or 2 bedroom house.
Yeah, so just to confirm on that though, like you're working and you're saving up money to save for a deposit to then obviously go to the bank and borrow the rest, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, and like a lot of people, even today, they still think that's the way, you know, on how to do it. And if I don't have that money, or if I don't save up, then I can't do it. Yeah. So let's go back to now. Okay, I'm traveling around in events and music and all of this, and this is why then I wanted to, you know, positively affect the service accommodation industry. But how did you go from trying to scrape around £2,000 a month to now generating £50,000 a month?
Oh my God, that's a big question. Well, I think the first step was my events world was paying me too well, so I could walk away with £5,000-6,000 a month. I was doing no property really, other than these buy-to-lets, but that wasn't necessarily happening all the time. That once they're set up, right? I realised if I stay in this sort of 5-6 grand a month events world job, one, I'm going to get too old because it's a young man's game or young person's game, and two, I'm not getting anywhere towards my goals. So I decided to retrain, and again, another sort of light bulb moment, and I thought, what if I pretend And the keyword pretend is actually like, I didn't need to pretend, but what if I know nothing about property? What would I do? I genuinely remember this like it was yesterday. I was sat having my hair cut 7 years prior to this moment, or 6, 7 years, I can't remember, 7 years prior to this moment. And I was chatting to my hairdresser about a buy-to-let and about a property that me and my mum were doing. And this woman next to me, because it was like a proper hairdresser, I don't know what I was thinking. It wasn't a barber, it was like a proper hairdresser. It's like 40 quid for a short back and sides kind of deal. And this woman who was having like a perm.
In Bradford, I don't think so.
I know. But mate, it was pre-2008. I'm telling you, everyone had money then. But this woman came in. She nicked out to the car. She came in and she was, look, you're going to get more use out of this book than I ever will. And it was Simon Zucchi's Property Magic. And that book sat on my shelf for the entire time until I had this light bulb moment 7 years later. What if I know nothing? Well, then I've got to go and train as if I know nothing, right? Okay, so where would you go? I'll probably read a book. That woman gave me this book, this property book. This is going to be out of date by now. And by now there was Audible. So let me see if Simon Zucchi's got an Audible version. And bam, like version 6 or whatever was on Audible. So I downloaded that, literally like a Bible, just consumed it a couple of times. And that was me. I thought, this is a whole industry that I don't even know exists. But now I do. And it was just like, we got to go. We've got to change something. So I didn't cut the bridge straight away with the events work. The money was too good. The gigs were too good. Honestly, they sent me to the Olympic Games. I was athlete side. I was looking after all the athletes, handing out, Samsung devices, phones, and the gigs were good. So what I did is I started to just cherry pick the right ones. How much money have I got? And I remember having about 5 or 6 grand in my savings account. And I thought, that's enough. That's enough to just survive and figure this out. And then my next paycheck was a source deal. I'd learned how to source. And because I understood serviced accommodation, and we've kind of skipped that bit, I understood it because during the events, I had to stay away from home. So I'd stay in a Premier Inn, which was actually quite nice because I feel every time I'd open the door in a different city that I was like, oh, I'm home. But obviously you're not. But they're all the same, right? So, but it got to a point where if I was away for 2 weeks or more, I'd say, can I stay in a Airbnb? And this was 2016. So it was still a bit crusty. It was a bit like, it wasn't a thing, but it was a thing. So I'd check into these apartments to be sound, and I'd live there for a month. So when I figured out through Property Magic that this was a strategy, and I would book all of these 2-day free courses, and I remember going on Samuel Leeds free course, I would book Progressive free course. I would look for anything that I could just go to now. I didn't want to wait 3 months. I wanted to go now. And then it just felt right that I knew serviced accommodation. I didn't know it, but I knew something about it. I'd previously, a year before, with one of my events mates, I tried to do the numbers on London serviced accommodation. And I was like, what if we rent a property and we rent it out? And you go through all these like stupid amateur questions of like, that's illegal. I didn't know the answer, but I remember we just sat there and went, there's no money in this. We can't figure it out. And that was the end of it. We just never looked at it again. That was a year, maybe 2 years before I'd had this epiphany moment. Long story short, once I'd picked up that book, and then I started to consume other content, and then I was on YouTube, and then I was just submerging constantly. I'd had about 18 months, this is maybe an important bit that I've missed out, of looking into personal development, such as Tony Robbins, Les Brown, all the big American, superstars at the personal development game. Got into David Goggins, got into this take no nonsense. And I'd stopped lying. That was it. I just stopped lying to myself. I know about property. No, you don't. Just stop lying. You don't know anything. So pretend you know nothing and start again. And that for me, I haven't even talked about how we're making money now, but that's where the big shift was.
Yeah. So tell us, you said you went on to all these trainings. I know obviously we first met each other in 2019. Yeah. And, so how did the service accommodation take off? Because you were looking at it, there was no numbers in it. You couldn't work it out or whatever. How did it then take off and what did you start doing?
Yeah, good question. So I was looking at it first when the numbers didn't stack in 2017. No training, no idea what it was. But then as I've done more research, I actually met someone as well who told me a lot about the strategy, just randomly. This girl that I met, I was single at the time, and she actually worked in service accommodation. So she was like, yeah, that happens. Yeah, that's how you do it. And everything that I was like, so is it true? You can do this? Yep, you can do that. So she was like confirming everything that I was learning at rapid pace. I was consuming on podcasts or the books and the trainings. I then started to think, right, I need to make some money because my $6,000's rapidly disappearing. You know, I'm living like very limited spend lifestyle, but you still got to spend money. And I thought, I've got to source a deal because everyone was talking about, I need service accommodations. So I was like, well, if they need them, then I can get them. How do I source? I didn't know. So I hate talking on the phone at the best of times, but I made it a challenge that every day I get on the phone and I just speak to agents and I speak to anybody I can that's in property. You know, whether they're a high street agent, whether they're a one-man band agent, whether it's open rent and they're a landlord. And before I knew it, I had a few they weren't yeses, but they were like, okay, I'm interested. Come and view it. And as soon as I went to view it, I just turned into an expert again. I just turned into like, yeah, this is what we do. This is what we're gonna, kid it out like this. I remember shaking on a viewing, my first viewing. Anyway, they said, yeah, we need to get the agreement done. I remember them sending me an AST and I was like, no, I can't sign this agreement. It's not the right agreement. We've got to do it properly. It was actually an agent. I'm not going to name them, but a real high street agent. And they just fudged the agreement so that he was like literally he was cutting out words, covering them up. They're like photocopying it. So the agreement read correctly. But I was like, sounds a bit dodgy. Anyway, I was covered because he'd written in all the amendments. I sold that deal. I got our first payment. And then I was like, okay, we're going to go again. And I was like, that was hard work for $3,000. And then the next one I got it. I was going to source it. And I thought, I'm not doing it. I'm keeping it. And by this point, I'd roped in a mate of mine at the time. He brought in a little bit of cash. I think we had about 10 grand to spend on the service accommodation aspect because we'd also decided to buy a house. I've talked about this before. He brought in around 35 to 40 grand and he put it in a business account. And then stupidly, we went and bought a house and most of that disappeared. So we had about maybe 5 to 10 grand to scratch around with. We leveraged 0% cards and we set these 2 service accommodations up. And that was it. I was like, what now? I need to get them to a management company. And it just started to snowball from there. Now, this is 2019. Mark, at this exact point is when I saw the Real Life Tribe. And I don't even know where I saw you, where I saw the brand. But before I know it, I was at a free 2 day, wasn't I?
You told me your mate came. Your mate was coming from Singapore, and
yeah, that's it. Yeah.
And you thought if he's coming from Singapore to do it, then you can make it from Bradford, right?
Yeah, that was it. That was exactly it. So I'd met this chap, and I'd met him again at a Simon Zucchi event, and he says, "Yeah, I'm flying over. These guys are killing it in HMO." And he was really bigging you up, and he was like, "They're doing this and they're doing that." I was like, I've got to go to London now because it was in London, wasn't it? Even though there's a lot of events that you do in like Leicester and the Midlands, but this one was in London. So I'm in Bradford thinking, okay, let's go. Like I think it was September, wasn't it, Mark? So I'd gone full on in February, March. So by now I'm all in. I'm like all in. When someone says just do something, normally you go, oh, it's a long way, blah, blah, blah. But I'm kind of all in. And then, he was coming from Singapore, so I had no excuse. So I went to that event. I loved the energy. Before I know it, I've joined. I remember saying I'm joining because the network. I was like, the network's great. The vibe's great. I just want to be part of it. It seems that they all do HMOs, which is good because at the time we were going to go into HMOs. And little did I know that I've just stayed in service accommodation since that first instance. I've never done anything separate.
I'm just wondering if because sometimes people think like, where can the money be made? What if things run out? What if deals run out? There's not enough on the market and so on. And like what you've just said reminded me when I first started, I was like, yeah, I'm in the East Midlands here, I'm in Loughborough, I'm in Nottingham and in Derby, but I'm going to go to Wales and I'm going to start doing it down there, because that looks good. I'm going to go up north because I'm going to go to Liverpool, I'm going to go to Manchester. Never made it that far, in the first 5 years, I think, because it was like, there were so many deals to do. There were so many flips to do. There were so many, great opportunities in these small little villages that like you don't hear about in the mainstream because it's all about the major cities, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like you chose to stay in service accommodation. So tell us about this, because there's some people, they might think, oh wow, I need to have a big office. And I'm going to do, because you operate. Last time we spoke, I don't know if it's changed now. You're operating in 17 different locations. Is it more, less, the same?
Yeah, it's changed quite a bit. I think we're about 25 locations now.
Wow. So 25 locations. Some people would be saying, wow, you must have 25 offices then. You must have a big central office. You got all of this burden, maybe your time's, all taken up because of all of that. So actually tell us, because is it true that your entire team an entire operation is remote?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, I've always made a decision, rightly or wrongly, that I don't want an office. I mean, I'm studying my office now, but it's just my office and my office manager's office. So there's two of us in our office, and this is in my garden. So I never wanted to commute to an office. I feel like if the big global companies can do it, anyone can do it, right? You can be remote. You can have staff all over the world. You can bring the best talent across at the best price, and you can operate a 24/7 operation. And that's pretty much what we're doing. We're not quite there yet. We clock out at 10 p.m. and we clock in at 6 a.m. But that's 7 days a week. So yeah, we're all remote and we're all over the country, and it is chaos. I don't recommend it. But the reason I chose to do it is two reasons. One, I want to be the UK market leader. There's no question of that. That's what I want to do. That's what I've always wanted to do in this space. Service accommodation. I thought if I start small and I stay small, I ain't never going to get there. If I go far and wide early, there's two benefits. One is that, and two, I can't turn up and paint the wall and fix the light bulb and repressurize the boiler and be too involved if it's far away. And that is the main reason that I went far and wide early. It's because I thought, I know what I'm like. I'll get there because I can fudge my way through most DIY, and I'll get there and I'll do it. That I'll do it sort of scenario, I didn't want to have that. So I thought, if I build a national company from the off, then I can't do everything. I have to build a team. I have to get infrastructure and all of that. So yeah, I think it was a good decision, but it's chaos. It's been chaotic 6 years.
Yeah, but listen, there's I've worked, I've run businesses where we've got 100 people in an open plan office thinking, oh wow, everyone's here, but it's freaking chaos there. And I've run businesses where everybody's remotely as well, and there's chaos wherever you go, my friend, because it's one of the stages of actually getting to like a standard or normal operation before then we can start making our way up the way to true power. And that's what scares some people, the chaos thing. Yeah, so look, we've got around 10 minutes left here. And I've got a few questions. I want to say a few, quite a lot. Yeah. And I want a quick fire, because me and you would probably sit here for 3, 4, 5 hours and just be talking about all of the things. And, loads of people are going to get loads of value. So I want to try and pull out or pick out the key insights. Yeah. So quick fire. Your answers have to be quick fire so we can get around more of them. Yeah. So just tell us in a nutshell, like you're running multiple business, service accommodation management, staging, housekeeping. Like, how do you balance and scale multiple ventures while doing your own deals as well, while having a newborn baby and being in a relationship and all of that? What would your key, power phrase be of how you do that?
Stick to one strategy, because although we've got lots of strands and businesses, it's all service accommodation. And if I started to even look at something else that wasn't already ingrained in me, flips are already ingrained in me, but if I started to look at HMOs, I would fall over. So stick to one strategy and go deep and go narrow. That's what I would say.
Nice, I love it. So what were some of the biggest mistakes that you made when you started out that you'd want to warn like new people starting right now in this sector?
Find someone that's where you want to be in 5 years and talk to them and buy them coffee and say, okay, give me the top 10 things I need to do right now. One thing would be bookkeeper. A lot of people say it, a lot of people don't do it. Get a good bookkeeper, get a good accountant as well who understands it, and understand that as the owner of the business, what's your role? Like, what are you going to be doing? Because you can't be the one painting the wall. Maybe on the first deal you can be, but you've got to very quickly know your role. What are you here to do? It's often tell people about the brand and bring in new business.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's
good.
what we're doing.
So, you know, from most people, you know, earning 2,000 or 3,000 or 4,000, some people are these days. Some people would think 50,000 £50,000 a month, you know, it's just not for them. They're not able, they weren't at the right place at the right time. That's what my dad would tell me anyway. Yeah. What was the biggest mindset shift that you had to make to like basically create this success?
Yeah, good. I think two caveats. One, when you're earning 50,000, it's not, you know, I've not got a briefcase full of 50,000 that gets delivered to me every month, right? The company is when we look at the bank account at the end and we've kind of paid most things off, we go, okay, this is good. This is what we're earning. But then I keep reinvesting it. So you never feel like you've got £50,000 a month, by the way. The one thing I needed to understand was scalability. If I cookie cut this thing, if I do it once, can I do it twice? Can I do it 4 times? Can I do it 8 times? Each challenge in service accommodation, when you've got maybe under 5 units, when you've got 1 unit, it's a level, and then you go to more than 1. So you maybe go under 5, and then you go up to 10, and then you go to 20, and each one has different challenges. Ultimately, the bigger the team is getting, obviously the more units, the bigger the team is getting, the more operating procedures, standard sort of structures and processes, automations. It all costs money, you know, so we're spending a lot more as we're growing. But I think the first thing is always just do the first one. Get started, get going, because you learn so much. And you go, oh my God, I've learned so much in that first one. I could do another 2 at the same time. And then you're scaling.
You know, it's funny, is like sometimes people ask me this question. They're like, Mark, what do you spend all your money on? Yeah. And my answer is not what they think. You know, my answer is mistakes. Oh yeah, man, like the amount of money that I've like spent or invested on a mistake.
Yeah.
But like you say, it's what's coming in and what's going out. And as long as there's more coming in than going out, you know, obviously you're winning in some way. Like Roger Federer, 1,500 games he played, matches he played, 84% win, I think, but points wise was only 54%. You know, so it's a thing. So let's keep these quick fire. So we just talked about, yeah, you know, generating 50K, but you're talking about you're investing about 20K into your business growth. So like, how do you decide, you know, where to invest, what to invest? How do you manage risk? Because this is people's, you know, one of their biggest fears.
Really tough question. I've got to be really honest. So we had a conversation today in the office to say, look, we had 100K sat in our just in case account before Christmas, and now we got 35K sat in that just in case account. I was like, where's all this money gone? And then I totaled up. Well, I've taken on 3 new projects. I've created a housekeeping company from scratch. We've now got 4 members of staff in that company, and we have built a new website and sort of onboarded a new marketing team, right? And then I totaled it all up and it was nearly 70 grand. And I was like, oh my God. And I think nothing changes other than the money gets an extra 0. And you know you need that. So, okay, you weigh up the options and you implement it. And that's one good thing I'd say about myself is I am pretty level. I can weigh up the options. I can pull the trigger. I can take the action when I need to, but not too quickly, if that makes sense. I don't overthink things for sure. I kind of just... quick summary of like, okay, weigh it up. Is it worth me doing it? Is it worth my time? Do we need it as a business? And then bam, just go for it. So that's just a personality thing, I think.
Good.
But not holding on to the money and waiting for a rainy day is super important. You have to grow through good and bad times, I would say.
You know, what I think people massively misunderstand as we aim to keep these quick fire is like, you know, how many times, you know, business and property entrepreneurs, especially people who want to scale, yeah, you know, if you play it small, like the income and outcome is small. So it's like, oh, you know, I need to find, you know, 1,000 or whatever. I don't know about you, JP, but there's been times where I'm like, we got payroll coming, we got, you know, this happening, we got project finishing, we got this now went wrong, we got this now got lost, got this bill coming. And sometimes I'm sitting there thinking, I could find a way to find this money. You know, like where's the money going to come from? Yeah, and it's like if you told everyone else that, it freaks them out. Yeah, but it just depends what size game you want to play. So I now want to go on to the next question, which is you're on track to manage 100 plus properties, yeah, and acquire multi units and so on. Yeah, what is like, how do you plan to sustain this growth without burning out, without toppling over? Like, what is it that you've learned along your way which you can, advise to people who might want to do the same?
Nice. I think planning to sustain the growth is also, like you said, planning to mitigate mistakes, not to mitigate risk. Of course, that should be in every deal or venture that you do. I want to plan to minimize mistakes and wastage. Every business has wastage. Daft examples could be utilities that you haven't kept a track on, and now all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, there's money leaking out the door. So I want to minimize the wastage. It actually gets, dare I say, a little bit easier because now we're a team of 11. So all 11 staff are doing their lane, which means I don't necessarily have to be in that lane every day. I just, unfortunately, as the leader, you get all the fires, right? You get all the decisions that people can't make. You get all the stuff that's gone above their pay grade or above their head or whatever. And then I'm going, it's above my pay grade, but I've got to solve it because nobody else will. So that's the one thing that I'm aware that I've got to manage. The bigger we get, the bigger the fires get. So I think we're becoming more corporate, more professional. You start talking about more compliance, more insurance, all that sort of corporate-y stuff, but it's got to happen because when we're at a size that we're at, I'm certainly where the size we want to go. I think we've got bigger, again, it's not risk, it's things that could go wrong and we've just got to mitigate them as much as possible. But yeah, I think, again, I'm not doing 5 different strategies here. I'm doing what I know, I'm doing it. I'm following where the wins are. So if there's one property doing $4,000 net profit a month and there's one doing 400, I'm going to go get more of the ones that are $4,000 a month. So I'm scaling on what's working, a bit like A/B testing, right? So I'm just going with the highest result every time.
Good. And we've only got a couple of minutes left and I want to squeeze them out. So these got to be 10-second answers. Yeah. So what's your biggest goal for the next 12 months? What you're doing now to make it happen?
Yeah, I want to onboard 50 high value clients. So we've started to advertise, or we're just doing a really big push on advertising. And also we're going to onboard 20 housekeeping clients in the city of Bath.
Love it. Okay, good. If you could go back, with what you know now, let's say you as the mentor, as the coach, as the entrepreneur, you go back to your former self, what's one piece of advice that you would give if you just had like an elevator pitch to yourself?
Get out of my own way quicker.
How can someone do that?
Take action that's not going to absolutely ruin your life and career if it goes wrong. So just take action enough where you're going to move forward, but it's not going to blow everything up if it goes wrong.
Okay, good. So if someone's starting out today, they want to achieve financial freedom or whatever their goals are financially, what action should they take today?
Immerse themselves. Education, network, podcast, books, whatever you can do, just immerse yourself. Conversation, coffees with people, virtual, whatever. Just get fully immersed. There's no half measures.
Good. Hey, we've got something awesome we want to give away to you guys. So drop us a comment. Let us know where you're watching. Put #live if you're watching live. #replay if you're watching on the replay. Hit the share button. Let us know you shared it. We've got some special prizes for the people who do that. And I'm going to tell you what that is in a second because I've got 3 more questions. Super quick fire. What's one habit or practice that's helped you stay focused and keep growing in business?
Daily routine. Help me stay focused. So I wake up, I do yoga with Tom, if you're listening and you know Tom, 6 a.m. And then I will read, I'll try and meditate, although I've got a newborn baby, so that's gone out the window. I try and get to bed at a good time, phone, not be on my phone in bed. All of those little tiny 1%, they add up to your day. Tomorrow's a new day, we go again. So yeah, daily routines and habits.
Good. Where can people follow you or connect to see your journey?
Mostly on Instagram and Facebook. So if you're not on my Facebook, join. It's just my name, John Paul without the H, Palombo. My Instagram, we're about to go big with Instagram because I'm launching the Host Network, which is a network for 1 to 10 units of Airbnb hosts.
Really? Okay, good.
About that.
And what's one final message you'd give someone listening right now who's stuck and unsure if they should take action?
It's not for everyone. Listen to your gut. But if you know it's for you, you just got to go. You just got to go all in.
Good. I love it. Thank you so much for being on today. Yeah, we've got a few more people coming. Let us know if you've got any questions. Put #live so we know, #replay so we can answer your questions. Now, all of these things and answers, we've got some big news. It's going to be like an absolute, I can't say the word because you get cancelled. Yeah. But it's going to be like a, yeah. And, what this is to create a free community, free, yeah, forever. If you want to do it yourself, DIY, yeah, if you want to do it yourself, free community that's going to have is going to have better coaching, better training, better mentoring, better resources, tools, strategies than what other people are charging for. And I'll tell you why very quickly. There's going to be more coming on it, but put the word free right now. Put the word free if you want in on it, yeah, because you want to get in there as soon as possible. Because there's going to be thousands of people flooding it. And the reason I want to do it is because my end game is the real life results. And I basically just want to build thousands of people who are going to pay us 150 quid a month to be a membership to the resort, gym, spa, co-working spaces. All your remote workers can go there and, be surrounded by other entrepreneurs and elevate business. It's going to be absolutely insane. I won't go too much into it right now. But just put the word free if you want access to that. Wherever it is you're watching this or listening to it on whatever podcast. If you're watching it on something that you can't type, then just DM me free because I know what you mean. Yeah, just DM me on any platform free. Just go and search on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, YouTube, wherever. Yeah, so we got so much more. We want to have you back on here, JP. We want to have you when we open in the resorts as well, and for the opening ceremony. But thanks for coming on. So much value that we could have, still got from this, but it's been such a short time. That's the new format now, short, sharp, and powerful. So thanks for coming on, my good friend.
Thank you very much for having me, and I hope it was useful. And let's do it again.
Yeah, awesome. So until next time, everybody, do the right thing for the right reason, because that's the only way you discover your true potential. See you next time.